Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of BICTL, or Bringing Industry Careers to Life, hosted by the Red and Yellow Creative School of Business. Today, we're going to be looking at, is your brand hot? And giving you some great tips and advice on how you make it so if it isn't. My name is Di Charlton, and I'm a Senior Lecturer and Head of Program at Red and Yellow. I come with over 20 years of experience in the industry, so have had my fair share of both mentoring and helping and nurturing young people finding their place in the industry, as well as have been on the other side of hiring and finding the right talent. Now we are joined today by an incredible group of amazing women. Yay, girl power. And it's really awesome to have them share their time with us. So thank you guys, just to start off. It's an absolute pleasure being able to sit here and discuss, for me, I think something that is such an important topic and such valuable advice to share with people out there, no matter which stage of your career that you're at, whether you're looking to start off, whether you've just started, or you're just trying to figure out how you get a better change going forward. So I'm actually going to go around and ask these incredible women to introduce themselves. And we're going to start with you, Tamara.
I'm Tamara. I am a recruiter at Viv Gordon Placements. I've been recruiting in the creative industry for a long time. I handle the creative portfolios, which are writers, art directors, content people, social media people, and more. And I also used to work in industry. I worked in advertising, recruiting there as well before I joined Viv.
Thank you. Rihanna.
I'm Rihanna. I'm currently the HR manager at 99 Cents. I've been doing HR for nearly 20 years now, of which 14 plus years have been specifically in advertising agencies. So I head up the HR team where we manage all recruitment, anything HR related, all learnerships, bursaries, internships, anything HR related.
And you've certainly experienced massive growth over the years. So yes, we're going to have some interesting discussions around that. Then I think everybody in the industry knows you, but there might be some people out there who don't yet know who you are. Over to you, Viv.
I'm Viv Gordon. I have got a recruitment agency called Viv Gordon Placements. We have been going for many, many years and have worked with people in advertising, in marketing, in public relations, communications, media, anybody from entering the industry and right through to exiting their industry, as we've been going our 34 years. And before that, I was in the advertising and marketing industry myself. So we have a really good understanding of what everybody should be doing, can be doing, and where they should go to with their careers.
And then Amy, you also come out of the industry into the recruitment space.
So I'm Amy. I'm from Ivy Farrell Recruitment. I work with Ivy to find candidates in marketing and creative roles, digital and tech as well. I have a digital background. I've worked in the likes of Ogilvy and other agencies in the UK as well. So I've built teams and put people together in creative teams, and yeah, that's my background.
Amazing. So I'm actually going to start with a word that we've been using a lot. It's in the title of this talk, and I think it's something that we've all said it at some stage. And this whole word that we talk about, this industry. So let's start and go, okay, what is this industry that we service, and what are some of the opportunities that actually start to exist within this? I'm going to start with you, Tamara.
So industry, the creative industry is broad. You know, there's advertising and design, there's marketing, which although is a business role, it is also a creative business role. There's PR, there's digital, there's publishing. Those are all creative industries.
So Rihanna, I mean, certainly in your business, so you're in this growing business, and I think maybe you need to also just give some context to people to what 99 Cents does, because I think maybe some people don't necessarily understand. But also, have you seen the shape of the graduates that come into there? Because, you know, within this creative space, what have you needed, and how's that changed over time?
So 99 Cents is it is an advertising agency, but they're more they're full service. So it's not just traditional advertising on like your radio or TV or print. They do other forms of communication, like we've got a PR department as well. They do paid media. They do a lot of posts for social media, digital, that sort of thing. So because the industry it's very broad, and we can't just focus on your traditional stuff anymore. So that's why I say it's full service. And the types of roles that we need more, or what we're finding that there's a lack of, are your copywriters that can write for not just traditional ads, but like on digital, your social platforms, that sort of thing, SEO copywriting and that sort of thing. And that's what we're finding is very rare at the moment. So it's like, I'm not sure where the good copywriters are, but that's what we need at the moment. I mean, we're struggling to find really good, talented writers at the moment. Art directors are always needed, but we need people that are very adaptable and that want to enhance their skills and not just focus on one particular area. So what would do well in our advertising, in our industry or our company, is somebody that focuses on all aspects of advertising, not just above the line or below the line, but if you are able to take that and do it on digital, you can do animations and that sort of stuff, that you're multi-talented, that would take you very far. And that's what we are needing, because it's constantly changing.
So I definitely want to loop back at some stage to this whole multi-talented thing, because I think there's a very interesting discussion that we can have around that. But just, Amy, I wanted to the copywriting. We were talking about it earlier.
Yes,
we know that there's a gap. We know that there's a need, but I think a lot of people don't even understand what copywriting is. So how do you see it? And
so copywriting is, it's more than just writing a payoff line or, writing a blurb for a magazine article, for instance. It's now much broader. It's kind of gone into the social space. It's gone into search engine optimization, as Rihanna was talking about. UX copywriting is we're seeing more of that need, especially internationally, where you're writing for, from a psychological element and converting people or converting users of that platform into doing what the platform wants them to do by structuring the content around a psychological element. So UX writing has come to the fore, and so copywriting itself has become very broad, and there's specialization that you can go into, but there's also the broadest term of copywriting where you can be adaptable around different platforms, and I think that's important to note.
Yeah, and it's just so interesting, the shape of how everything has changed. Viv, you have been through so many various iterations of our industry, kind of how are you seeing things at the moment? I think very much in the opportunities that exist.
The whole thing about the communications industry is how to get our clients' products to market. Everybody needs to sell their products, and whether it be through a traditional above-the-line arena using TVC, very much into electronic space now, into digital, into motion graphics, into animatics. The whole point is to get people to buy your products. And all our clients are really interested in at the end of the day is the bottom line. Who is seeing our products and who is buying our products? And the communications industry is the unique part on how to differentiate those products and get them to the market. And that's what we're looking for, is we're looking for that unique talent in both the copywriters, the art directors, the designers, the digital people, as well as the marketing people, because they are the communication between the client and the creative department. It's really developed from the traditional television, print, radio into all this broad spectrum of communication. At the end of the day, the client wants to sell their product.
And ladies, from that perspective, so, we've got these massive opportunities, we've got incredible needs. Where are the opportunities at the moment for grads? Where are you guys seeing, somebody goes, sure, this is exciting, like I like this. There's something either about building and developing a brand that can connect to somebody and can solve a problem, through to, I want to be the ideas person, I want to see beautiful things come to life. I mean, that's such a wide variety. Where are you seeing some of the opportunities lie at the moment?
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of opportunity in the social space, particularly because the younger market is more in tune with that space and kind of more accessible, and allowing brands to be, or providing the accessibility for brands to the youth market is is very attractive. And I think the social space is a good entry point for graduates. And, you know, all of the marketing and creative roles are all fall into that space. So I would think that's kind of low-hanging fruit in terms of an entry level.
But just adding on social, you know, social isn't just, I mean, there's lots of different roles within a social media role. You know, there's a social media designer who's actually designing the posts, a writer who's writing the posts, someone who's actually communicating with your audience. There's people that are doing paid social media as well, which is a completely different skill. So it's really broad. And how to really make yourself marketable in that space is actually to be a little bit of a jack of all trades, because we're finding that hybrids are becoming more and more popular. You know, clients want to hire one person to do everything, which is sometimes not always possible because they're very different disciplines. But if you can do a bit of design and you can write and you're able to do some paid, etc., you know, that's great for social.
Also talk about job security, hey? I mean, like, if you have a position that's now been made redundant, you know, but then you're like, but I have these other skills. You're still very marketable. So if you can adapt and learn new skills constantly, then it won't be that difficult to get employed again or stay employed, because you've got to be able to adapt all the time and change, well, with whatever the industry needs are. You know, not just like, I don't do that. I don't want to do that. You know?
It's like this. It speaks my language. I mean, we have literally, as you walk into Red and Yellow, we've got a big sign that it was literally Brian and Bob Allen who put it up that said, "I am a sponge," and it literally. I feel it's the only way that you can be successful in this industry if you take that consistent, lifelong learning approach. If you're arrogant in any way and going like, I can do it all. Or I don't need to learn, I don't need to adapt and evolve. That's quite honestly when you get left behind. But I think it's such an important thing to tell people up front, you know, to get people thinking that you don't get a certificate and suddenly you've stopped your learning journey. That if you want to be successful in the industry, you need to keep learning. Hey, Viv?
Definitely. And I think I'd like to add, you know, everybody bandies around the word strategy. And everything's a strategy for your client, and what are we going to do and how are we going to get there. But very, very few graduates or people that come in have a strategy for themselves. And I get candidates who want to be strategists and they've studied strategy, but they have never done a strategy for themselves. And I encourage, you know, we can be versatile, we can do things, but I think we need to have a plan for ourselves. If we're going to start in one particular category, where is it going to lead us to? What do we need to learn to fill in the gaps so that we can go to the next level? And it can't, sometimes it's hit and miss, but most times you need to have some kind of a plan for yourself, as a strategy for yourself, as your personal self. And it's not just about working. What are you doing in your private life in terms of social responsibility? What else are you doing that's making you a whole person? What were your influences at home? What did your dad do that influenced you? What did your mom do? And it's all these things that we take into consideration into helping those graduates form themselves as an employable person, long term, not just this job, second job, third job, and where am I going to end up?
Yeah, and I think, you know, and I think that's where the talent management comes in, and I think that's what I just love how, you know, we've even changed the wording within from an HR. It's not just about recruitment anymore. It's about talent identification, talent nurturing, and talent management. And I think, you know, that self-awareness is such a big part of that. So tell me specifically within the creative space, how do you help somebody identify that thing for themselves?
You mean their niche?
Yeah, their niche. You know, there's a lot of broad opportunities, but within those broad opportunities, we certainly see, you know, kind of little spikes. So you need to have, I often talk about that T-shape. You've got a lot of stuff that you can do well across that horizontal, but there are a couple of things that you do really well on a vertical that then can make you stand out from everybody else who can just say, do the social media and tell you, I can do social media, but I'm also my design skills are amazing. I can add that extra value. So,
I said a bit of a jack of all trades, but I think it's kind of, you do have to have your core focus. And then if you've got other skills that you can add to that, that's great. But, you're going to do well in an area that you feel passionate about. I mean, if you love writing, you're going to excel in writing. If you don't really enjoy writing, but it's something you can kind of do, but you don't enjoy it, it's not going to come out in your work. You do have to really care about what you do and enjoy what you do. And that's how you kind of thrive. That's how where the work will blossom. Writers who can do, writing is so broad at the moment. There's UX, there's advertising writing, there's writing for e-learning, there's technical writers. So there are so many different areas that you can choose to write in, but it's about what you enjoy and what you feel passionate about. So I think that's where you sort of, in terms of if you're a writer, that's the direction that you need to follow.
So interesting. One of the things that we actually talk about is this whole notion of ikigai, that we try and work with our students when we've got that time with them, is to say, find what you're passionate about, find what you're good at, and find what's going to make money. Because, it's got to be, and it's trying to find that center point within that triangle that gets all of those, all of those things, So when somebody is now going, okay, great, I've identified that. I've now studied ring yellow, no jokes. I've studied, I've honed my skills, I'm amazing. I want to get going. Give us, guys, I think definitely everybody at home needs some tips and tricks. You guys have seen a lot of people who've come through and have been successful in their initial processes, and a lot of people have bombed badly. What are some let's start on the positive side. What are some of those things that have made people stand out or just allow them to initially get noticed? Because it is, we see so many candidates. How do you see that?
So interestingly, the more creative you can be in applying at an agency, the better. So I'm not saying everybody should do it, but for me, people that have stood out, I had somebody drop off a fish for me, a pet fish, yes, with a note about, I've got this gift for you and whatever, and if you need me to come and feed it every day, whatever, I will come, and sort of that kind of thing. And then, do you know what I mean? It gets your attention because now you're thinking, wow, this person's got some creative angle there. And then I had somebody else that delivered a basket of cookies, and we called her the biscuit girl. And she she baked it herself, dropped it off, and had this long letter to say, I will do anything, I'll work for free, I'll come fetch your coffee, all of those things, just to get into the door.
Did she get the job?
Yeah, she did. And she turned out to be one of the, the best people in that department for a while until she decided to get out of the industry. But those are the things that we notice, and we think there's so many people applying for jobs. We get hundreds of unsolicited applications, not just people that are applying for jobs that we have vacancies for, but everybody's looking for work. So you have to make yourself stand out of that crowd, and make us see what makes you different. And thinking out of the box, especially in advertising, is what's important. So stuff like that sort of gets you noticed. Or I think one of my colleagues had said somebody dropped off a shoe with a flash drive in it, and it said now that I have my foot in the door. Do you know, stuff like that? And their CV was on the flash drive. So you kind of forced to look at it and who's this person that came up with this idea? Stuff like that. But not everybody does it. But you have people that come up with these weird and interesting ways of getting your attention, so that's been my experience so far.
And the easiest way is to provide a succinct and engaging portfolio and CV. That's the entry point. And we, as recruiters and talent people, get so many CVs and we have to wade through reams and reams of copy. It's really important to keep it short and sweet, but to bring your personality across and tell a story as well. Ultimately, creatives and marketing people are telling stories. So if you can do that about yourself through a CV or through a portfolio, you're halfway there, I would think, in terms of getting noticed. So in your portfolio, don't just put images or copy, but tell a story of how you got to that point, what the process was, but in a succinct way if possible. And I think being able to do that will really show your ability.
Yeah, a link with your portfolio must be
Yes.
included in your CV with your best pieces of work, kind of thing. So if you don't have a portfolio,
Yeah.
that's already
That's a problem.
that's a problem. If you're applying for an art director or a copywriter role, you
projects that you've done while you've been studying. I mean, that's very important. Obviously, that's going to be your starting point.
And I think most of the grads, hopefully, they'll have been interning right throughout their studies.
Yes.
Going, work shadowing, interning, which shows how keen and eager they are. If they haven't been doing that, I think they're at a disadvantage.
No, absolutely.
And very often, those internships turn into permanent placements.
Okay. Now, so they've dropped off their CV, and you go, oh, okay, there's something interesting here. Like there's something that's caught my eye. Something we have spoken about, the social search. Tamara, talk to me about that, because I think a lot of people, that's you guys, don't necessarily understand that you have a digital footprint, and it's not just your friends who find you and look at you, but
We look at everything.
it's your people. So Tamara, talk to me about that.
If you have submitted your CV to an agency, a recruiter, a company, guaranteed you are going to be Googled, and whatever you've done is going to be out there. It's going to be online, and it's very difficult to get rid of it, by the way. So if you are looking for a job, I would say, you need to really just make sure that your social channels are professional. If you kind of out partying every night of the week, don't sort of, what's the word? Document it. Don't document it on an hourly basis. Just keep it professional. Be careful what you say. Be careful of the comments you make. I mean, the other thing is on the positive side, if you really want to get into the industry, you can, go on LinkedIn, you can make comments, you can share relevant posts, you can really show that you're doing your homework and that you kind of already involved from that perspective. But, on a personal level, when you're looking for a job, just keep it as professional as possible on your posts, Instagram, Facebook, all of that. It really is important.
Yeah, think of it as a brand.
No wedding pictures on your CV. If you're the man, the bride cut off, or the other way around. It happens.
No,
It happens.
I'm sure there's some proper faux pas in that regard. And tell me, I think exactly that's just also so many young grads, or young people, they see the value. Look, a lot of them might think that Facebook is done and dusted, and yes, they're on Instagram, they might be on Twitter, but talk to me about LinkedIn and how important you guys are finding that within the space.
Very important.
It's
It's very, but the most important thing with LinkedIn is it's got to mirror your CV. You don't want to receive somebody's CV and then you look at their LinkedIn profile and it's different.
It happens.
Yeah.
There's gaps.
There are gaps and they've
detail.
worked somewhere where it's not on their CV.
Yeah.
So, looking for a job is hard work. It's really hard work. Focused hard work. So you've really got to pay attention to all that detail.
Yeah.
But LinkedIn, if you're looking for a job, is hugely important. I mean, people are going to look at Instagram, etc., just to see what your personality is like, what you do in your spare time, your social life. But LinkedIn, from a career point of view, is hugely important. Your profile has got to be professional. It's got to be up to date. All of those things, definitely.
Yeah, because we sometimes, if we're headhunting candidates, you search on LinkedIn to look for, strategist or whatever, and then all of these profiles that come up, you look and you see, okay, where are they currently working? When was their, where are the gaps? All of that stuff. So it's very important that you keep it up to date and who you're following and all of that sort of stuff, and your posts and things like that. It's very important.
Yeah, and I think you hit on something that was actually going to be my next point, was around this whole following. If I tell you I'm so desperate to come and work at your organization and I definitely want to be there, and I'm not following you on any social platform, I'm not interested effectively in anybody within your organization, it kind of becomes a little bit, fake.
Disconnect.
Yeah, there's a disconnect.
Because especially like if you're coming for an interview, if you have been invited, one of the questions you will get asked is like, so tell me what you know about us.
Yeah.
So if you
Why do
say,
you want to be
I
here?
don't know, I kind of just, I quickly went online, but that's it, tell me. Do you like thinking, but
Yeah,
you want to work for us, but you know nothing about us, So it's very important that you do your background, your research on the company, or when you're applying for a particular position, you know which company it's for and what it entails. And all. Because we've had people pitch up for an interview and like, I got told I have an interview, I can't remember with who, and I can't remember for what position. It happens.
I mean, the interview, there's a lot to say about the interview, but being prepared is so important. Doing, as Rihanna says, doing your homework about the person who's going to interview you, the company, their clients, latest campaigns, etc. It's so important to be prepared and be on time.
Oh, yeah. And communicate if you are running late.
Listen, I think it's straight away, if you the person who's granting the interview is giving you hours they're giving you time out of their day. Just to look at your CV has required time invested in it.
Yeah.
You have to put in
Yep.
much more on the other side. Okay, guys, now the thing that I love talking about. I know it's like, cruel stories. Let's laugh at the mistakes people make. But it's always it's always very funny when somebody trips down the stairs sometimes. As long as they're not like that. But let's talk about some of the faux pas, because I think there's lessons always to be learned in the faux pas. So things that have gone horribly wrong, but how do you not do that? So what are some of the things? Just
so many.
Don't go there. We could talk for days. But some of your highlights reel of faux pas.
Okay, well, don't pitch at the interview drunk.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Smelling of garlic.
Make sure you've had a bath and you've got clean clothes on.
Also, if you've been to the beach, don't come in your beach clothes, because that's happened a few times.
I have had a guy who's got changed at my desk. Came from the beach, took off his shorts, emptied the sand out of his shoes during the interview.
Yeah.
But I remember him.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Might not be for the right reasons, but you're certainly going to be memorable. Yeah.
So be on time, or be like 10 minutes early rather. So don't arrive late, or communicate if you are stuck in traffic, or I don't know, if you had a breakdown or something, because you would have received the person's contact details, to say if you can't make it for some reason, or if you're not going to make it at all, or you changed your mind, you're not interested, send a message and say, I'm actually not interested anymore. I'd like to withdraw my application, because we've had people no-shows.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've had quite a few of those,
yeah.
and that's frustrating because we've got
You've carved out
limited
time.
time.
Yeah,
I think also, this may sound silly, but actually know where you're going. Make sure that you actually know where the company is.
And
If
who
it's
you're
a
gonna see.
face-to-face, at the moment with COVID, a lot of interviews happening online, so it's quite easy. But there's still things that you need to prepare, even if you're doing a Teams or Zoom or Google Hangouts interview. But if you're going to a place, you must know where you're going, and you must always look professional. I think people think because it's a creative industry, like anything goes. Yes, it is creative, and you can get away with a lot more than if you were going for a corporate, but you still always have to present yourself professionally.
Just
it's
on
really
the Zoom
important.
interview, just make sure you've checked your background, what's going on in your background.
Yeah.
And they've actually got those things now where you can just change the background to something that looks like you're sitting in an office or something, as
In
opposed
the
to
Caribbean.
Yeah, the Caribbean's a good one.
And your face isn't a cat.
Yes, your
Yes.
face is a cat.
You've taken off any filters that were there beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that you have a secure connection, because the last thing you want to do is like, oh, sorry, I ran out of data, or I don't know, one of those things. But make sure you
Load
have,
shedding.
Or my battery's gone flat. That's okay.
it's important. If you want this job, you do whatever you can to make that interview.
And I think also, like you were saying, figuring out where to go is, if you've never been on Zoom before, or Google Hangouts, or whatever platform that the interview is called for, or Teams, you figure it out and you practice beforehand.
Set it up
Because
before.
there's nothing worse than
All
somebody going, well, actually, I don't know how to turn my camera on.
Yeah, I don't have Zoom.
Exactly, I don't know how to Zoom. Well, then you go, okay, well, you kind of, okay, thank you. It was nice, kind of, thanks but no thanks. And then for me, so what's important to succeed? So we've spoken about this fact that, yes, you've got to come in and we're seeing this jack of all trades. We're seeing, like, know what you're good at, but be prepared to consistently learn. What are some of the other things? Because I certainly know one of the things we focus a lot on at Red and Yellow, what we call those critical skills, because the human interaction, the creative thinking, but that approaching a problem, working with other people, it's something that we spend a lot of time teaching them. But what are those things that really you find when they're in the industry? How do they succeed?
Well, I think as Viv said, having a strategy for yourself, having a direction, knowing where you want to go ultimately and sticking to that. In terms of the jobs that you choose, the next company you move to,
and your curiosity, your general curiosity on the industry and in the world, and being aware of what's going on in the world around you. I think it's hugely important, and to have some kind of social responsibility element to yourself, to be giving back in some way.
And also, once you are in an environment, in an agency, for example, and in a team, being a team player is very important.
Huge.
So you must remember that no job is too big or no job is too small. So no matter what level you're at, don't go with the attitude of, whoa, that's not in my job description, or that's below me. I don't want to do that. Do you know what I mean? So you must be prepared to help your teammates. If you see someone's quite stressed and you can take some load off, help them. Because at the end of the day, it's how well you work with your team, and your teams are going to give you this feedback, or your manager feedback, like, sure, this person, no matter what you ask them, they always like, yes, I'll do it. Yes, I'll do it. Can I help? Put their hands up all the time. Those are the people that get noticed more. And those are the ones that progress a lot faster than others.
Yeah, and be prepared to work hard. I mean, you're not going to clock in at 9 and clock out at 5. It doesn't work.
Not
like
in
that.
not in
advertising. Yeah, I mean, I remember leaving at 5 and agency people saying, "Oh, you're working a half day today." That classic line.
But I do think also that people should have a personal boundary, because there are some people that will work till all hours and they will burn out, and at the end of the day it will be to their own disadvantage. So I do think youngsters do need to have some kind of personal boundaries as well, to know when enough is enough.
But that's the communication, how well you communicate with your manager as well and your teammates to say, listen, can I get a break? Or but the open communication is very important.
Yeah, huge.
The fluidity really of our industry. That also our industry has an incredible amount of movement that happens within it, but also in the same way I say it is quite small, because you have to manage and protect your reputation, because it literally does precede you when you start working.
Yeah.
And what is just so in that in mind, and I know guys, I love that having that strategy for yourself. But what are the other pieces of advice, kind of that you can give? Okay, I've got this job, I'm starting working, I'm now building my reputation within that workplace. What are those final things that you can, just those final tidbits of advice that you can give to people out there?
Yeah, I would say be open, be flexible, put yourself out there as well. You may have carved a path for yourself, but you might come across something that gives you, that sparks joy, and just put yourself out there in those situations, and don't be afraid to offer your input. That's what I would say.
But also don't badmouth your current employers or your past employers. If you go into another agency and they ask you why you want to leave, don't say, it's a horrible, toxic environment or anything like that. Whatever it is, even if it is that way, it's not looking good for your potential new employer, because if you could say stuff like that about your current employer, what are you going to say about your new employer? Don't put those comments on Facebook or Instagram, whatever, whichever social media outlets you use. Don't complain about the company or anything like that. You rather leave your reputation intact wherever you are, so that they will welcome you back if there is a position available again.
Yeah.
So just be aware of what you say about your current employer to potential future employers.
Yeah.
I think it's all about attitude, and it's about as you said, being agile, being open. Often clients have said to me, if someone doesn't have the skills 100%, it's about attitude, because you can always teach the skills, but it's that attitude, it's that willingness, it's that openness, it's that agility, and being a sponge, and just growing and being a team player. It's about being someone that people want to work with.
Final thoughts. Anything else?
Well, if you've got your strategy for yourself and you've got a fabulous job, but there will come a time where you'll reach a ceiling in that particular job. So have an idea of where you're going to go and what are you missing in your compendium of skills that you need for that next job, and network within the company that you're at to get those skills. Be that human sponge and go to the other departments and learn about it, so that you will be prepared and ready for when you need to break through that glass ceiling to go to your next job.
Amazing. Ladies, it's been an absolute pleasure. I think everyone back at home, there's an incredible amount that you would have learned today, whether you're thinking of getting into this industry, whether you are already in this industry and are looking to progress. I think there's so much value that we can take out of this. So thank you so much for joining us today. And just remember, you've got to be that sponge. If you are interested at all in finding out more about what we do at Red and Yellow, from our short courses to our full-time programs, undergrads, postgrads, higher certificates, learnerships, whatever it is, please go onto our website, redandYellow.co.za, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Thank you so much, ladies, and
Thank
thanks
you for
for joining
having
us.
us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.